Well, TikTok, it's time to rock, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Andrew. I'm here with the co-hosts of the 5150 show on the alternate week, on the spare week that we keep up our sleeves for special guests and other things. So I'm looking forward to spending a bit of time, Hoss and Brad, with our special guest. But in the meantime, before we get there, I want to do one special shout out to one person, Warren, who's going through some treatment, who's a bit sick at the moment. We've got some other shout outs to do for other people. And I want to do a special shout out to my co-host, Brad, down there, holding us up.
Yeah.
At a gig, he's going to tell us what he's doing. And another special shout out to that man over there for delaying some recording to be on the show here this afternoon with us. Hoss, how are you, brother?
I'm very good, Andrew. Very good. Yeah, no problem at all. This Saturday, I was going to be doing some recording in the studio, but I managed to reschedule that so we can talk to our very esteemed special guest today and catch up with you fellas, which is always a pleasure on a Saturday.
Fantastic. Brad, what are you doing? Where are you?
Look, Andrew and Hoss, I thought I'd better join you guys on location. I'm here in Tasmania. I'm in a place called Mole Creek. It's a interesting place, beautiful. The sun is shining, the air is still, lots of snakes about, all sorts of things here, mate. It's a wonderful location, and I'm playing in Rewind 80s tonight, which will be, I think, around 5:30, 6 o'clock, which we hit stage. So
wow.
So I'm on location. If I cut in or out, or if I drop in or out or whatever, I'll apologise in advance.
It's always a pleasure to see you, bro. It's always a pleasure to see you and have you in here at any stage. And the fact that you're gigging, Hoss, is always going to be a priority for the co-hosts here. Gigging is always going to be the first thing, isn't it, Hoss?
Yeah, of course, and especially given that it's the weekend. That's when stuff is starting to happen again, especially in Australia. Everything's the music machine is winding back up, which is awesome for everybody.
Yeah.
Oh, brother, fantastic, and thank God.
Yeah.
Hey, guys. So, just a couple of things. So, before we get, I'm really excited because the guy that we've got jumping on has been in our chat for a long time. He's a fantastic guy. But in the meantime, Hoss, you've got a couple of things that you want to talk about too, don't you?
I do indeed, yes. One of them is the response to last week's show where we had Neil Daly on talking about his guitar building and the Van Halen tribute guitars, especially, that he focuses on and is so good at doing. That show's had a great response, and then I put like a separate video up on my YouTube channel as basically a supplement video to that, so people could hear the guitar. And I haven't checked in the last day or two, but I mean that's already had 1,000 views. So
1,000 views on your channel. I checked it before I went live, and our show that we did with Neil's about 350. So so the hits for the channels are great, and it's fantastic, and we appreciate everybody that jumps on and supports us. We've had a few subs on the channel here on the 5150 show over the last couple of days, guys, so the channel's growing slowly. If you are watching a replay and you haven't subscribed to our channel, please do. If you want to check out Hoss's channel and Brad's channel and anybody else's channel that's associated with our channel here, go to the community page and you'll see all the channels there. Go and subscribe to every single one of them. If you subscribe to us, you get an automatic subscription back. That's the least we can do. Oh, my gosh. Brad, is that it? Have I finished? Is that me for the night?
Yeah.
I think you've done your quota of work, Andrew. You can pack up and go home now.
You bastard. What are you saying? Are you saying I'm a skiver?
No, just having a cheeky little one, mate. Just a cheeky little one. That's all right.
Look, we should get our guest in, Hoss. So, do you want to? I think maybe you should get him in, and then I'm going to do a bit of a shout out and let him know that he's a special guy. What do you reckon? Should we do that now?
Yeah. So, this gentleman that you're about to see is always a member of the chat of not just our show, but a lot of other great Van Halen shows. And he is such a passionate Van Halen follower and is knowledgeable. And not only that, he's an absolute sweetheart of a guy. Andrew, I'll let you bring him in.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, please put your hands together for the one and only Mr. Keith Campbell. Hey, brother.
How's it going, ladies, gents? Halenites all over the world.
That's right.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
Thank you for having me on.
To see
I
you.
really, really appreciate this. This is such an honor.
Look, it's our pleasure. It's our pleasure. I know that you've jumped on a couple of streams. I think you were with us on our tribute show when Eddie passed away, his 1 year anniversary. I think you were on there with us.
I think it was the marathon show, the Christmas show.
Oh, the Christmas show. Okay,
yeah.
right. Yeah, it was the Christmas show.
Manuel.
Yes, yeah, and we didn't get a lot of a chance to hang out and talk to each other. I know a little bit about you, so it'll be good to share a little bit of that information here on our channel. But we did make a promise, Hoss and Brad, didn't we, that we were going to get Keith on here. I know that Hoss was in particular happy to come and spend some time with you too, Hoss.
Absolutely, yeah. I didn't want to miss the opportunity to hang out with you, Keith, and pick your brain and find out a little bit more about your backstory and stuff like that, which is so awesome that we get the opportunity to do that.
Thank you so much, Haas. First off, that means the world to me. You just taking the time for me to be, for you to be on the show with me. That means the world.
Of course, fella, anytime. I wouldn't miss it.
I mean, just being on the same screen with the three of you, just. Love it, man. My brethren.
Yeah. From all the way across the Pacific, it's awesome the way that we talk about it all the time. The way that this community has brought so many people together that didn't even know each other existed before 2 years ago.
Right, and that's what I was talking with Andrew about earlier. It's all about the sharing of the information. Like with all the shows that I went to, I'm sure you guys were dying to go to those shows. Whereas I wish I was going to your shows that you saw in '98.
Yeah, absolutely.
But I got to see him a bunch of times that tour, so that was a great year. Saw him 5 times that year.
5 times in the 1 year.
5 times, and met him 3 times.
Okay. Yeah, awesome. And when you say met them, like met all of them or just some of them, or how did that work?
All of them.
All of them. Wow, cool.
Yeah. Now, how do you want to do this, Andrew? Do you want me to start from the get-go?
Look. I think what we want to do, obviously, is I'm going to make a disclaimer here. I know Fruitcake Tony and some of his crew, Sandra, are in the chat here, and I always watch Fruitcake Tony's shows. But I've got to make it quite clear: I did not watch the show when you were on with Fruitcake Tony because I knew that we were going to have you on our show, so I didn't want to have any of that information in my head. So
that's fun.
But the most important thing though, Hoss and Brad, from our experience, is that people just want to hear your experience. And what alerted me, what really piqued my interest with you, Keith, besides you being a nice guy and being really supportive to our channel and both the Sunday show and the 5150 show, you join us and you support us. We love that. But when I found out that you saw Van Halen 30-something times.
Wow.
36.
Wow.
36 times, yeah. I know, it still boggles my mind. I sat down and looked at it. I started doing numbers. I'm like, holy crap. I know I saw him a couple of times, at least, every year of Sammy and everything. I was like, geez, I didn't expect it to add up to that many, though.
Yeah.
I have to say, Keith, I'm a little bit jealous you've seen them 36 times, mate. Like I've seen them once.
Same, once.
With Gary. Yeah, and that was it. And when I hear people talk about they've seen Van Halen 30 plus times, I'm so happy for you, but at the same time, I'm a little bit jealous, I have to admit, because, they never really came out to Australia or New Zealand for that matter. And I feel like we really missed out. That was something that is a big regret for me, that they never actually came out to Australia that often. would have been nice to get over to the States a bit more to see them, but life gets in the way, unfortunately. But well done, mate. 36 times. Wow.
I'm really lucky though because of where I grew up. Okay, I was born and raised in the New York City metro area, just north of New York City, about 20 miles north.
Right.
So, growing up when I did, you had the Madison Square Garden, you had what was just built, which was Brendan Byrne Arena in the Meadowlands in New Jersey, and then you also had Nassau Coliseum out in Long Island.
Right.
And then also you had Camden and Philadelphia as well, and Atlantic City all the way at the bottom of New Jersey. So those pretty much would comprise a good bulk of the shows that I went to.
Yeah, right. And can I ask you, Keith, if my geography is right, the venue where they did Live Without a Net in New Haven, that would have been pretty close to you too, right?
Actually, yeah, it's I'd probably say it's closer to me than me going to Nassau Coliseum was where I lived.
Yeah, right. Right.
It was probably about maybe 45 minutes from where I lived. Yeah.
Wow.
And it wasn't a big arena either. It held like maybe 19,000 people max.
Yeah.
I mean, what was the quote in the video? We got 21,000, 5150.
5150s. Yeah.
And I wouldn't doubt if it was 21,000 in there because there was not an empty seat in any of those shows back in those days ever.
Yeah, I can imagine.
Yeah. You never. I mean, even it was standing room only in the concession areas and out in the merchandise areas too. You had to get there early and get your stuff quick. It would sell out.
Hey guys, I just want to do a special shout out. We've got the Rock Professor in the chat, which is extremely unusual for the Rock Professor to be up this early in the morning. So,
hey, Rock Professor.
Yeah, Professor.
It's 3:40 in the morning for the Rock Professor. My Lord.
Yeah.
Well, what's he doing? He should be online. He should be joining us on the show now. Come on, mate, get your act together.
Hoss, do you want to do a shout out, bro? And then I'll get you to do one at the end. Is that a good time for you to do a shout out, you reckon?
Yeah, let me do a quick shout out now for the people that are with us from the early on, and then I'll do one, of course, at the end. Cool. So we got Simon Williams, the Rock Professor, at 3:40 a.m. in the UK. We've got Helene O'Hara, who's just jumped on. We've got Sonia, Gretch Zeppelin. How you doing there, Gretch?
Hey, Gretch.
John ZD351,
hey, John.
the awesome and illustrious. Ellen Vorshine, Nelson Rodriguez, Sandra Paconi, and of course the one and only Fruitcake Tony. Thank you everyone for joining us.
Eat cake.
Oh, and we just had Mike Rogers jump in. Hey, Mike.
Hey, Mike.
Yeah, thanks for joining us, everyone.
Yeah.
Awesome. Look, I suppose, guys, what we'll do is we'll go around and do the horn, and we'll just throw a couple of questions.
I recognize that.
Oh,
yeah.
You are the dude.
Oh, love it.
Yep. Yeah, I got one of those always handy.
Thank you, brother.
Hey, Robert Ranford.
Okay, so I suppose we've got to start off from the cradle. Keith.
Oh, boy.
Where were you? What were you doing? How did you discover Van Halen? And what was the first gig you went to?
All right. Let's see. Like I said, I grew up in the New York City metro area, just 20 miles north of the city. 5 older sisters. So they wanted nothing to do with me. So I always immersed myself as a kid in my Batman, my G.I. Joes, and then later as a teenager, I started getting into music, I mean, I grew up at my first music I remember listening to. I have to preface this by saying, age 3, my parents went out bowling, and my oldest sister, who's 12 and a half years older than me, she comes in and she says, "Shh, don't tell mom and dad we're doing this, okay?" And all the sisters are like, "Oh, this is going to be good," I'm like, what? They put on Led Zeppelin 2 and Are You Experienced by Jimi Hendrix. Oh. My first 2 albums I remember listening to. So that's where I started from.
That's a pretty good first 2 albums.
Right?
Yeah.
Big first 2 albums, mate. Big first 2 albums.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So and my sister, she wanted to try to get up to Woodstock in the worst way, and she got caught up in the traffic jam, so she was unsuccessful at that. But Van Halen was right out of the gate for me, because before that it was I had my walls all dedicated to each member of Kiss. I had a wall for Gina, wall for Peter, wall for Ace, and a wall for Paul. And then once I heard Van Halen, I'm like, whoa, what is this? I couldn't even contemplate and figure out what he was doing when I heard those minute and 42 seconds after Running with the Devil.
Yeah.
Just like everybody else in the world.
Yeah.
And I've got my original album right there in front of me, along with every other LP that was put out up until the Skyscraper album. And I didn't stop from there, I just had to soak it all up. And it wasn't the big hits that got me. It was all the obscure songs, the I'm the Ones, the Atomic Punks, the I'm on Fire. Those are the ones that got me, because the harmonies on it, the boogie beat, and then the guitars, the solos were insane. So I was just hooked on it from the get-go, and
Keith, can I just say, brother, those late 70s and early 80s, they were the days where the deep cut tracks and the album tracks, they were like sometimes better than the singles. The singles were just the ones that worked on radio, but the other stuff was often better, like what you're saying, And I don't know about you guys. I find that's the opposite now these days. Everything's about the single, and often the deep cuts are kind of feel like filler. But back in the late 70s, man, the deep cuts were better than the singles.
Absolutely. I mean, it got them in the door, but those deep cuts were the bread and butter. Those were the ones that like, make you want to like,
That's right.
Go conquer a planet, and want to make you go pick up a guitar and learn how to play, and it just progressed from there, The one that really got me, though, it was Women and Children First. When I heard that across the board, I was just floored.
Oh, yeah.
Especially when I heard Romeo Delight.
Ah.
And I'm just like, how is he doing this? Is he just like playing with the volume knob, doing the swells there, then doing the whammy bar? And I was just awestruck with the whole thing. And there were barely any videos back then, if you remember, okay? I grew up with Don Kirshner's rock concert in the U.S., and they also had the Midnight Hour. And they would occasionally show a video. And those were the first, 79, was the first year that they put out their own pro shot videos, aside from the ones they did in the club.
Yeah.
And I remember seeing Bottoms Up. I was just floored. I'm like, look at that crowd. They are going insane. And the band is having such a blast. I got to go to one of these shows by hook or by crook, And 1981, let's see, that was July 17th, 1981. It was 10 days shy of my 16th birthday. And I got to see him at the Garden for the first time.
Wow.
And they were just unbelievable. I mean, it was them at their zenith. They were unstoppable. They had carte blanche across the world, in the rock world, and they knew it. They were enter a town like conquering heroes.
Yeah.
And they took no prisoners, and you knew it right from the get-go. And I could see where Dave would come up with all of the little shticks, because he was doing that all the way back with Red Ball Jet.
Probably right from the backyard parties, right?
Even before, when he was with Red Ball Jet, they were putting out naked flyers, in Red Ball Jet, and that's what he was. He was the showman about it. He wanted to have his dad, and his dad had actually agreed to have a helicopter come down for a high school show when he was still in high school, and they were going to drop off the band and perform. You know, it was like seeds for the Anaheim show when they were going to do the parachute trick, you know?
Yeah.
But that's the way he was, you know? He was all about giving the performance for the whole crowd, you know? And he glued it all together, you know? Alex may have run it without everybody knowing it, but Eddie was the inspiration and Mike was the foundation of it all. But, you know, Dave was what did he always call himself? The Toastmaster General of the immoral majority, right?
Yeah. Well, you know, I fully agree with that. I think that the music of Van Halen, you know, without David Lee Roth would have been just as great. But Dave brought, you can't just have a bunch of fantastic musicians in a band. Dave brought the entertainment as well. And that's why, like, I think the reason we all love Van Halen so much is because between the four of them and all those things you just explained, Keith, you know, Mikey being the foundation and all of that, and Alex being kind of the centerpiece, perhaps, you know, the kind of running it in the sensible one. But really, it takes all those different colors to make the rainbow. And that's why it was an unstoppable force, you know.
That's right.
I just want to jump in and agree with what you guys are saying and just point out something that we may forget.
Yeah.
Back then, the lead singer, the vocalist had to be flamboyant, had to be colourful, as Hoss just said, because there was no back screen, there was no videos back then, there was nothing, you know. There was, to get that sensory perception that people want, so they had to. You know, they're hearing things with their ears, but they had to see that flamboyant front man do all the stuff to go, wow.
Absolutely. That's what David Lee Roth always was good at. He wanted to reach out to the guy up in the nosebleeds on the back end, you know, on the opposite end of the arena. He was singing out to them, you know.
You're exactly right, Andrew. I never really thought about it like that. But Dave, like, you know, doing the splits in the air off the drum riser and all of that was taking up enough visual space on the stage that what now, like some of the modern bands that just kind of stand there and play, even though the music's great, it becomes then all about the set and the light show and the video screens and all of that. But then people had to look around what was happening. So you had Roth jumping off speaker stacks and really without the laser shows and all of the stuff, video screens that we have now, that they had to move around that much because that was the show. That was the visual part of it, you know. And I think that's what made it so special. So yeah, good point, Andrew. That's exactly right.
Mm-hmm. And, you know, that was the wild thing because, you know, they even had the backdrop behind the drum riser too. I mean, that was so cool because they had like a backdrop of it looked like New York City, but it was like the dirtiest part of New York City, you know.
Right.
And then when they did the encore and they came out, the city was demolished. So it was just like it was all rubble. It was so cool looking at the end, you know. And you know, it was just like totally blew my mind away how they would do that. You know, just be able to pull that all off. And believe it or not, Van Halen were the first people to use jumbotrons on a tour.
Right.
Yeah, the 95 Ballads tour. They were the first one to use a mobile jumbotron.
Wow. Okay, I didn't know that. That's
awesome. And then let's see, my second show with them, I was supposed to see him at the Medland show, but everybody's read the excerpt where Eddie busted his wrist out. That show, that was the show I was supposed to be at, but ended up missing that one. And going to the one in November afterwards, the makeup show. And the one in Philly as well, which was really great shows. And then, you know, my pinnacle of all Van Halen shows I have to talk about, though, is meeting the band for the first time in '84 after the show.
Just before you get to that, Keith, can I quickly ask you, when you were mentioning before that the first one you saw was in '81, is that correct?
That's correct, yeah. July 17th.
And so would they have been touring then to support the Women and Children First album back
then? That was
then?
the Fair Warning tour.
That was the Fair Warning tour, right?
That was the Fair Warning tour, yeah. I had missed, I went Fair Warning, Dive It Down, 84, all the way through.
Gotcha. Well, please do tell us about that first time you ever met them.
Yeah, So, like I had said, I'd seen the other shows, but by '84, I was graduated from high school and I was in the Air Force stationed down in Biloxi, Mississippi. So, um, just like everybody else in there, they were listening to it as well. All my friends from around the whole country in the Air Force, and they were all rock fans and stuff. And Van Halen was huge. They were untouchable. So a couple of my friends and I, we had gotten tickets for the July 28th show. Is it 28th? Yeah, 28th show in Biloxi, Mississippi at the Mississippi Gulf Coast Coliseum. And we were able to actually get the entire weekend off, too. We had to get off-base passes, and we were able to rent a condo for the weekend right there next to the Coliseum. I'm like, great. So we get secured, get everything set up, and then we go to the show. Autograph is the opener. And my friend and I, Frank Heiselman, we start floating around, listening to the band and checking it out and everything. And everybody's got to remember back then it was still general admission on the floor. So, once the opening band was over with, we already had our stuff purchased at the merch table, and we had our beers, and then we went straight to the front. We ended up right in front of Eddie. Thank goodness. And I'm a tiny little guy, so I could squeeze in, and just weasel my way right up to the front, and Frank followed me right in. And we ended up right in front of Eddie. The one thing that threw me off immediately was the colors, the tiger skin jacket, the denim jeans with the leather patches. But the thing that really screwed me up, though, was that's not Frankenstein up there he's playing, because those are not the same stripes. That's a totally different guitar.
Yeah.
And it didn't have the 5150 stickers on it either at the time. It was only 7 shows in. So this was really, and it was, a day after his birthday. It was the 27th that I saw him, day after his birthday. So I'm just sitting there, like this the whole time. And we're riding the rail, You got the retaining wall, and then you got the bouncers and the cameraman and everything in front of you. And they're taking pictures. I took this one picture with an Instamatic 110 Kodak camera of him jumping right at me off the riser, coming right at me. And you had the microphone stand right there. Then he's coming right at me. It looked like he was jumping over the microphone stand at me. It was such a great picture. I still wish I had it to this day. Oh, God.
No.
I know.
Yeah.
So we're enjoying the show, and we're like totally enthralled by everything that's going on, listening to all the great songs, Girl Gone Bad, Hot for Teacher, Panama, all of it, even Dave, he's like doing his thing with the swords, but Alex is doing some massive drum solo in the background in the meantime, and they're just jamming out. And, then next thing you know, poof, they bust into Everybody Wants Some. And it was just awesome.
Yeah.
And, out of all of that, the one thing that I could not get my head over was how Eddie got his guitar to levitate during his solo.
Right.
And then I started to see, he's got something under there. It's a tray table setup, And he had 2 styles. He originally started with the wooden one. Yeah. And then later on during the tour, he had it upgraded to plexiglass.
Well, that's why it would have looked like it was levitating, because you wouldn't have seen it from a distance probably,
Right. But I was right in front of him. I'm like, how is he doing that? And then I'm like, because he was right at the center of the stage. So he was off to my left. I'm like, how is he doing that?
Yeah.
And then he turned my way. I'm like, he's got a tray table prop set up. Like, wow, that's pretty cool. So I'm just totally amazed by that show. It was out of this world. Total. Yeah. The lights were out of this world. The backdrops, I absolutely loved them. And I couldn't even see what the stage looked like because it was high up. Yeah. So later on in pictures, I saw it had the grid pattern. And I was just totally drained by the end of that show.
Yep.
And my buddy Frank and I are just like, okay, let's go back to the room and have some beers there. Like, no, fuck it. Let's go shoot a game of pool. And there was a bar that's attached to these condos.
Yeah.
So we went into the bar and started shooting some pool. About a half hour later, we hear the door shut on the bar. And I'm sitting there, minding my own business, shooting pool. And then I hear, mind if I get next game? I look up. It's Eddie.
Really? Wow.
Eddie and the whole band and the wives came in, locked the door on the front of the bar and said, nobody's leaving.
Wow.
And we partied for 3 hours.
Wow, that is so cool.
I'm just like, are you effing kidding me?
Yeah.
You know, it's like one of those things you can't even make up. And
bro, that's something that I wouldn't even dream that it would be that cool, you know?
Yeah, I know. Yeah. And I'm just sitting there, you know, shooting crap with my friend on the pool table. And he steps back. And I'm like, oh, thanks. Now I got better aim at my ball. And right in front of where he was standing is where Eddie puts the quarters down. I'm like, I look up and I see him. And he's got a pair of jeans on, a bandana, and his dice shirt. And I'm like,
yep.
Holy crap. I was like, and I looked over, I see Alex and Mikey and all three wives.
Yeah. So how many people, sorry, Keith, how many people would you say roughly were in the bar from your recollection?
Probably about 20.
Was it a small gathering or a big gathering?
Yeah, it was 20 people in the bar. And I think there were maybe 10 of them total that came in.
Right.
And, you know, including like, you know, management and bouncers and security and all that and other people, friends and family and shit. But I was just like, what the hell? They just locked us in and we can't go. And we are stuck here with them. And, you know, I was like, Eddie, he's like, calm down, you know, just chill, you know, have a drink and we'll just chill and shoot some pool. I'm like, really? He's like, yeah, don't worry about it, man. We'll just chill. I'm like, okay.
Oh, that's so cool.
So he's a real good shot too. Real good pool shot.
Yeah, right.
Holy crap. Yeah. He was pulling out some serious trick moves on me. Oh God. And you know, he's like, you drink any alcohol? I'm like, yeah, I could always go for a beer in the shower. He's like, okay, bring some Jack over. And Mikey brings over a whole tray of Jack for us. Yeah. He's like, your barmaid has service for you. I accept tips.
That's funny. Okay. Man, I can't even imagine that. That must have been almost like...
It was the most bizarre thing in the world.
Yeah, it must have been surreal. It must have been almost like that you had that Van Halen band at your house party, you know?
Right. I mean, yes, it's like the Spicoli moment, you know, hires Van Halen to, you know, to do his birthday party or something. But I was just like, holy shit. And we sat there, we're doing shots and we're talking, and I got to, you know, talk with Valerie for a little while and Mikey a ton and talk with Al for a little bit. Al's a freaking madman when he gets drunk, though. Holy crap.
Really?
Yeah. Oh, whew. Mikey actually had to hold him down.
Yeah, right.
But everybody was so cool. And then they were like, okay, we're going to go. So they opened the bar and let us all go. And, you know, me and Frank went upstairs and we were like, did that just happen? Really? Holy crap. And we sat there and just contemplated the whole thing for the next 2 hours until about 4 o'clock in the morning. We woke up about 10, went next door to the mall, and who do we see walking in the mall in a pair of baggy camouflage pants and a big scarf and a big sweater? David Lee Roth.
Oh.
I know. I'm like, Dave! He's like, shh. Just telling everybody, you know, he didn't want anything to do with us. We're like, okay, fine. So it's just like one of those bizarre, you know, serendipitous moments, you know, that I've been lucky enough to have happen to me hundreds of times in my life. I mean,
well, Keith, a lot of people in the chat are going, oh my gosh, oh my.
I'm sorry for not responding to anybody in the chat. I'm just going to be talking. So if anybody has questions, they're going to be responding for me. Okay.
And yeah, I'll take care of that too, brother. So if anyone in the chat has questions for Keith directly, I'll keep an eye on it, and then I'll ask on your behalf. So yeah, please do if you've got questions.
Fantastic.
Right.
Throw it in the chat. Brad, have you got a question, bro? Because we're going around the horn.
Come on, I know you're chomping at the bit.
You're right for me to give him a question, guys?
Yeah, brother. Yes, please.
Keith, I'm really interested to find out. Obviously, you sort of alluded to like your favorite show you've been to and whatnot. But have you got like a favorite era show of each? Like you've obviously seen all the eras of Van Halen. If you've seen 36 shows, have you got a favorite from each era?
Actually, yeah, I do. I mean, the David Lee Roth era, my favorite was probably the '81 tour. The Sammy era, probably the Joe's Beach show in '95. Or no. Let me take that back. The '92 show, the '93 show, July 6th, 1993 at Orange County Speedway. Jay Hannon was at that show also. It was his first show. And
cool.
I think we may have actually met back then. I'm not sure, but he I don't know if he remembers me, but I was wearing crutches. And I was right up by Eddie then too. And then the Sharon era, I would probably, I mean, I did love the one in Jersey where I had the meet and greet in '98. That was down at the Garden State Arts Center. But the one down in Atlantic City was a really great show too, though, with Kenny Wayne Shepherd. I saw that tour 5 times. And then the reunion tour with Dave. Oh God, that's a toss-up because all 3 of those shows brought so much to the table every separate time. I mean, you didn't know what you were going to get on the reunion tour. And the show that I went to on the '07 tour was when he first unveiled the Cream Wolfgang. It was the first night of that Wolfgang. So everybody got to see that for the first night. I was like, wow, that's cool looking. Because I saw the prototype, with the 1 through 4 on it, on the black ones. And then the 2012 tour with the new album was so freaking great. And then they were pulling out all the great tunes. They were playing Hang 'em High and Full Bung, and all the great things, Bottoms Up, and all the great ones from the old days.
It was such a great era of their songs, wasn't it? Even all those album tracks were just so cool around then. Like those ones you meant, Hang 'em High, Bottoms Up, just so full of electricity and energy.
It was. And then on top of it, they were pulling out, the new album, which were old recordings from the demos, They were pulling out, She's the Woman, doing new stuff too, though, like Chinatown. I wish that they had pulled out As Is. That's probably my only thing that I would have loved to have seen him perform live.
Yep.
How was Eddie sounding on that tour? Was it earth shaking? Was he great?
Well, the '07 tour, he actually sounded a lot more compressed. The sound didn't sound exactly right, but he had that all straightened out by the end of that tour, and by the 2012 and 15 tours, he was back to pure raw, amperage.
Yeah. Okay, interesting.
Keith, that leads me to another question. Have you got a favorite album from each era?
That's one of my questions.
Yeah. Women and Children First. Women and Children First for the Dave era. For Unlawful Carnal Knowledge for Sammy, and 3.
Yeah.
I've got a few decent songs on there that I do like. I love Year to the Day. I always loved Dirty Water Dog. And what he did with Primary and Ballad to the Bullet, those were always really nice pieces too.
Yeah, I think I'm just going to jump in here and just continue a conversation, guys, that we were having in the green room with Keith. So one of the things that we like as Van Halen fans is that we love to hear what other people have to say about an era or an album, and that happens to have some influence on how we listen to things. So since I've been doing the 5150 show with Brad and Hoss, my appreciation of Van Halen 3 has grown over the last 12 months because of the conversations I've been having, some of the shows that we've had. I kind of wrote that album off completely. But then I've gone back, Keith, and I've listened to it with a new set of ears. So do you find yourself doing this kind of thing too? Are you hearing something different when you go back and hear these albums? Is that something that you experience?
Absolutely. Even there was just an announcement put out that there's going to be a new type of LP and CDs put out too. It's going to have a fuller sound. I'm going to be getting that stuff too. And that was the thing that was really cool about the '98 tour and the 3 album. They did have a really cool full sound to it. They had the production down to a matte finish by then in the studio. It was really, really well done, production wise. I mean, yes, a lot of people won't think of it as, a true Van Halen album, but, opinions are like, everybody else.
Everyone's got one.
Yeah, everybody's got one, and, they think theirs don't stink. But, I saw that tour 5 times. And it all started off on St. Patrick's Day in New York City. Okay. I took the day off with my girlfriend. We went down to the St. Patrick's Day parade in New York City. Then we spent the rest of the day at MTV Studios.
Wow.
When they were releasing Van Halen 3. So
Wow.
we got to do the interview there. And then we were down in the crowd as they were walking out. We walked right across the street over to the Virgin Megastore signing with them. And then I got in line and we all did the signing together too. Got pictures and all that. And it was just like an awesome, awesome day. It was just insanity though, the crowd, how packed and how crazy it was. They actually had to shut down that section of, Times Square just for Van Halen. Wow. They even had him up on the Jumbotron in Times Square too.
Wow, that is so cool.
Yeah. And just like to be part of that, like, holy crap, I'm just like, I'm arm in arm with Mikey, like, come on, let's go. Because we're all getting shoved by the security guys. It was hysterical. Yeah. And my girlfriend, she was like, where you going? I'm like, get over here. And I had to pull her in. And she was like not even half the Van Halen fan that I am. So it was a struggle for her to keep up.
Can I just jump in and ask one quick question before I hand it back to Hoss? So I know that Brad saw Van Halen 3, the Van Halen 3 Van Halen, and he got to hang out with them and got some signatures.
Nice.
So how did Gary look to you when he was with the rest of the band? Was he fitting in? Was he moving with the guys, or was he a little separate? How was he interacting? Tell me.
That's the thing. Okay, I absolutely love the show performance that they all did. Okay. I mean, and I've seen the performance that MTV did with him rolling down the stairs and everything and freaking the girl out up there, and yeah, he was a little loopy like that at times, but still he put on a great show. He was everywhere for everybody, singing to the whole crowd. And there was not a single moment you didn't see any of them not smiling.
Because I saw them here in Auckland, and Gary Sharon was the singer of the band. And I'll be honest, I remember Gary, I remember hearing him, but I was just looking at Eddie. That's where I was concentrating. Yeah. I was looking at and just couldn't believe that I was 50 meters away from Eddie Van Halen. So the fact that you've seen, Gary a few times, and I know that Brad and I have spoken about this on a few shows, and Hoss too, we can't discount or discredit Gary's contribution to Van Halen.
Absolutely not. I mean, when I first saw them on the Van Halen 3 tour, May 5th of '98 at the Garden, okay, and it was like the big show for them, and they opened up with Without You, and then after that they go straight into Romeo Delight, and the crowd. Oh wow, my arms are just like going popping up just thinking about it. The crowd erupted literally when he started playing, the opening notes of Romeo Delight.
Hey Keith, can I quickly ask? Sorry, brother. Can I quickly ask you? Any of the earlier early '80s concerts you went to, did they used to open with that one?
Yeah, they would open with that. They would do Unchained. They actually would mix it up a little bit.
Really? So they would open with Unchained?
Yeah.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah. One show, I think it was in Camden, or was it Atlantic City? They opened up with Romeo Delight. That was a cool thing about it. I was like, jeez.
That just kills
great, that they're mixing it up a little bit, And I saw them in 3 stages of the tour during that season, during that year. And I was just so thankful to be able to see them I got to see Wolfie run out in Philly, while Eddie's doing his solo. He's sitting there playing 316 in Wolfgang. Little kid, 7 years old, runs out and just gives him a big hug. I'm sure everybody's seen the video of it, but I was like, that crowd there, they went freaking insane too. I mean, they've been to that place at the Spectrum, I think, like 37 times. That's unheard of.
Yeah.
Wow. I really enjoyed the show that is up on YouTube, Sydney, Van Halen in Sydney. That was the show I was at, and I couldn't believe how energetic the band were, how great Ed was playing. I thought Gary was amazing. I just thought that was the album took a while for me to resonate, like what was happening and work out what was happening in the band, but it was just great to hear all those old classics played. Gary did such an amazing job as well, I think. And Ed, I mean, the whole band was so humble when I got to meet them for the few minutes that I met them, and then I had the opportunity to talk to them for a bit longer, which was great. Got them to sign stuff, but Ed was really in quite a good place. Like, he seemed to be really focused. He was talking directly at me. It's just that album is pretty special to me for that reason.
I get it, man. He was in a good zone there. He was very attentive, and you could see it in his eyes. He was on.
And the good thing was with his playing on stage, he seemed so focused. I'm not sure I've seen him play that well, whether it was just because I was there. It just seemed like he was so focused on and intent on what he was trying to do. And he's like that, I guess. He looks like he's always having a lot of fun on stage, but he looked really serious at times. I was thinking, this is not the Ed I'm used to seeing, but I think he was really trying to play his best, like be on game, be on point.
And he did. He brought his A game every show that I saw him at. He did not screw up once. Every note was spot on. He was just seamless. The entire band was seamless. The entire performance, and then you have to also add into Mikey's performance too, doing Somebody Get Me a Doctor, throwing that on it, and nobody expected that, and that was just such, it was like an added bonus. Everybody loved it.
Yeah, that was definitely very cool.
Yeah,
that was a really fun part of the show. I thought they did such a great job of that.
Absolutely, and I loved how they decided right during the solo of A Year to the Day, that's where they put in the solo. And then they jump back in afterwards, 17 minutes later.
So guys, this is a question for all my co-hosts here, and for you, Keith, too. So do you think in future the history is going to look upon the Gary years a little bit differently? They're going to see it for something a little bit different than what it has been over the last 10, 15 years? Hoss?
I think that look, from my point of view, at the time that it was happening, everyone seemed kind of really divided about it, really polarized people. I guess what you're getting at, Andrew, is, and correct me if I'm wrong, is that down the track, now that so much time has passed and we get to kind of see the Van Halen material over its whole history and the arc, that people will appreciate it kind of for the difference that it was, rather than in the beginning, it was too different maybe for some people, but I think that, I think that time will put it in its own light. And actually, we were talking about this on a previous show a few months back, but and maybe it was you, Brad, that was saying that you had gone and re-listened to the album and you heard that the songs were better than you remember. Someone was saying that, and I agree. At the time, for me, it was too different as well. So I was one of those that I just couldn't quite, work out what to make of it. And I will say this, though, it's really, really important. And Robert was saying in the chat just before that loves Gary in Extreme. I was a massive Nuno Bettencourt fan and a massive Extreme fan. Mm-hmm. And I could not hear Extreme songs sung by anybody else than Gary. I adored Gary in Extreme. So when I first heard that Gary was going into Van Halen, to me, that because of Eddie's influence on Nuno, that just to me seemed like a marriage, a match made in heaven. And I thought, wow, that's going to be so cool. But then when I finally heard it, there was because Gary, to me, he's got such an identifiable voice, such a unique voice. Like there's not very many rock singers that sound exactly like Gary. It meant that my brain was, because I knew the Extreme stuff so well, my brain would hear Gary singing and think it was Extreme, but then I'd hear Ed's playing instead of Nuno's playing. You know what I mean? So like, it wasn't that I didn't like it. It was just that because I liked both bands so much, I was really, it sort of frazzled my brain a bit. But I think now that so much time has passed, those connections aren't really as strong as they once were for all of us. And I think people will listen to the songs and everything just how it was, I mean, and I feel for Gary. I feel for Gary because he's obviously an incredible singer. Like I said, I loved him in Extreme. I wouldn't want anyone else singing in Extreme. I just think that the pressure that he would have felt to be the new guy after Dave and Sammy, I can't even imagine what that must do inside somebody's subconscious, because he knows he's going to get compared. And all you can do is be yourself, I guess. And look, that's what he did. He went out there as Gary. He didn't try and be Gary doing Dave or Gary doing Sammy. And, you have to respect that. So it's a shame that it didn't last longer for him, because you know what would have happened maybe? He would have settled and found like his comfort zone with the band. And I think had more stuff happen with Gary, we would have seen him kind of flourish within Van Halen more and just relax into it. I felt like the Gary we all got to see in Van Halen was a Gary that was very aware of the shoes he was filling, But anyway, that's what I think about it.
John Conklin raises a very good point. They should have tuned down half a step for Gary. Yeah. So, Keith, can you answer that question, and then we'll get Brad's opinion. So what do you think? Do you think they're going to look at it differently in the future? You've seen all lead singers, so you're probably more qualified than anybody to offer an opinion.
No, I think the world has to get over it and accept it. We're not going to get any more really, except for whatever Al says. And it was really tough for me to adjust to it too. When I first saw him at the Garden in '98 in May, when he did Sammy's songs, it was seamless. It was automatic, because he had the voice for it.
Yes.
And then when he started, but it threw me off a little bit when he was doing Dave's songs. But by halfway through the concert, I accepted it. I'm like, he's nailing it. It's just got to be as is. He may not hit those, those Tarzan Banshee screams and jump off the risers like Dave does, but he still delivered 100%, and he gave it his all. And he was just as good as a performer as Sammy was. I will say that.
Yeah, he's great. In fact, I was actually just listening to the very first Extreme album on vinyl the other day and cranking that up, and that was heaps of fun. And hearing Gary sing on that, killer. You're right, Keith. Such a great singer, and he might not be doing splits in the air, but the truth is, no one can replace Dave. Dave was Dave.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, even Sammy would, admit to that. I mean, all he could do is just jump straight up, off the. Or he wasn't going to go sit there and start doing splits off the riser. No. That's right. He wasn't going to start screaming off the top of his lungs like Dave would either. Or go swinging across the stage. He had his own style, and everybody was happy with it. The only ones who weren't happy with it were the fans.
Yeah, he wasn't going to wear leather chaps, arseless chaps.
No, he wasn't.
Too, was he?
And it's which is probably good because I don't know if I want to see Sammy in leather chaps.
No.
Either. But
well, some of Sammy's fashion choices were kind of questionable too.
I will say this though.
I didn't really want to see any of them wearing leather chaps.
Yeah.
So imagine how Al felt every night.
Wow. I mean,
Al had that view every night. Whew. God bless him.
I didn't really love the just to go off on a tangent for 1 second while we're talking about it. Sammy's dress sense around that sort of live without a net era, I thought was it wasn't really Sammy. It was Sammy trying to be what maybe he thought the fans would like to see him as. But when Sammy the later eras, the subsequent tours where he's wearing like the plaid pants and stuff, I actually thought that was a pretty cool look for Sammy. When his hair was a bit longer and he was just he wasn't wearing the parachute pants with Ed and the bandanas all around his arms and neck. I thought that was actually pretty good. But famously, that we all know now, not only did Sammy not want to do the scissor kicks and the splits in the air and all of that, but he didn't even want to sing the songs.
Right.
Yeah.
He would only do a handful of them, and I was thankful I got to see him perform Unchained in '93.
Oh, really?
In Orange County.
Wow.
And, actually, you can pull it up on YouTube. Orange County Speedway. Yeah. Orange County Speedway. July 6th, I believe it was 5th or 6th, '93, and it's from VH France. Pascal, he has the video posted, and it's the full concert. It's phenomenal. Great show.
Oh, so Sammy singing Unchained, I've never seen that. I'm going to have to look that up in the show. Yeah.
Yeah, and I was sitting right down in front of Eddie during that show too.
Really?
I mean, God, and the only reason I had room to move around was because I was on crutches then, and everybody was like being a bodyguard for me to keep me safe.
Wow.
Yeah, I mean, some of the shows that I saw with Sam were out of this world too. I mean, I took my sister to go see the Monsters of Rock show at Giant Stadium, and that could be a 2-hour discussion alone, just on all the shenanigans that went on that day, from bootleg sellers getting chased around the parking lot by the cops. I mean, literally like a Benny Hill scenario, getting run into a bus, out and chased out up a light pole. He climbed up a light pole and then shimmied back down and still outran the cops once he shimmied down. It was hysterical.
Oh, wow.
I posted some pictures on my Facebook a couple of months ago. It's out of this world, though. I sat up all night, with my sister. We were just like, you know what? We need to bring a banner into the show. So we decided to grab a sheet, and we made our own Monsters of Rock banner, and we brought it in. Huge picture of Godzilla holding the 5150 guitar with one foot inside Giant Stadium. And we threw it up there onto the stage, and they held it up for a couple of minutes. They're like, check this out. I'm like, whoa, that's our thing. And my sister's going nuts. She's on my shoulders, and I'm right in front of Eddie's microphone stand while this is going on. And the whole crowd's going nuts around us. It's just like, oh, ultimate day. Another ultimate day right there, More Van Halen moments. Wow. I can't have any more, but I enjoyed the ones that I had.
You got some beautiful moments there, brother. Beautiful moments. And for Andrew, Brad, and myself, who only ever seen Van Halen once and only with Gary, I think you can imagine what that's why we just love listening to these stories of yours, fellas. So we can live it vicariously through you,
Absolutely. I mean, if you want, we can just like do discussions just on like certain shows if you want. on another episode or something. I mean, just that Monsters of Rock show is a discussion on its own. I can go into every scenario with every one of those bands that, everything that was going on that day was total. Everybody would have loved it.
That's epic, brother. We should definitely do that. You think of 2 or 3 that you want to deep dive on, and we'll do those down the track. That'd be killer.
Sure. Anytime.
I've got a question, Keith. I want to fire at you. In the green room, you were saying that you saw Van Halen during the OU812 tour, and you thought that was pretty good. Could you share a couple of stories with us from that tour, because that album has a special place in my heart? And also, do you have a favorite Van Halen guitar? And did you ever have a replica of that guitar, or did you ever make a replica of that guitar?
Let's start with the tour. I saw the OU81 tour 3 times if you include the Monsters of Rock tour. Saw the Giant Stadium show, and then I saw the 2 shows that they had in the New York area. They had a show in October 11th at the Garden, and then the following night at Nassau Coliseum out in Long Island. Wow. And that Garden show was out of this world. You could actually pull that up on YouTube as well. And I was watching that a couple of nights ago. I was just like still making the arm hair jump up because I remember every minute of it. He performed Finish What You Started, and he pulls out a Fender Stratocaster with a Telecaster neck.
Yeah. And
he's performing it on that. And, he didn't even do that on the Monsters of Rock tour, during the stadium tours. He didn't even perform that show or that song yet. He was doing everything else. He was doing Mine All Mine, Black and Blue, Sucker in a 3-piece, and the crowds were going nuts for all of those songs, And I mean, I thought that was going to be the best of it. And then, later on, those 2 shows, he starts playing Finish What You Started. And, just took it up to another level, or down to another level, because it was almost like an acoustic scenario with the way he was playing it, And then you had Sammy out there just strumming away and him playing right there with it. And it was the first time that anybody had really seen them just like do the little, not the serenade, but everybody with the harmonies just singing fantastically. It just like made everybody go nuts in that arena, both nights.
Yeah, can imagine.
Well, we're jealous, mate. So we're happy for you, but we're very jealous.
I'm just happy to share it with everybody.
So
I highly suggest anybody, look up these shows though from the New York City area that I'm telling you about. They are phenomenal shows. I just wish that, we had the access that everybody has today, because I'm going to the Wolfgang show on Tuesday, at the House of Blues.
Tell everyone about that. So it's this coming Tuesday, right?
Yeah, Tuesday, San Diego House of Blues. It's going to be Dirty Honey and Wolfgang. I don't know who's opening and who's going to be headlining, because from what I heard, they're flip-flopping it from time to time.
Right.
I also know that they have a new song, and I heard it was pretty good, really good actually. It reminded me a lot of the riff reminded me of You and Your Blues, the riff that was in there. And the new guitars that he has, that's always got people buzzing as well. He's got the 335 combos with the Wolfgang top ends, but it's weird. It's only got one F hole on the side, and the F hole is shaped like either a Middle Eastern sword or a katana. It's really cool looking. And then the neck, it's old classic Gibson look, with the 3x3 up top, and the EVH. But he named it and that's the name that really got me weird though. I looked and was freezing up on one of the shows that was on the other night, the Salt Lake City show, and I froze a couple of frames on the new guitar, and on the truss rod cover it says SA 126. So I'm guessing solid body acoustic.
Yeah, right.
And the 126, of course, stands for his birthday. So I guess that's what they're calling it now. You know, in the 4 different flavors now.
Right. Wow.
Yeah, it's pretty good.
Yeah. So I'm all jacked up for that show. And even Dirty Honey, they got a new single out that came out today too.
Oh, okay, cool. Look, I'm sure the show's going to be great. Everything I've heard, and read online is that to people that have been to any other Wolfgang shows is that they're really, really good. So I think you're in for a treat.
Oh yeah, this is going to be a mind blower for me. I've been chomping at the bit and chomping over too much at the bit, because especially with everything that went south with David Lee Roth, because I was supposed to go to his last show, his final show, the original final show.
And so where's that at, Keith? Was that actually the final show, or is there now going to be extra final shows?
Nothing has been announced yet, and everything has been refunded also. So as far as we know, nothing's been planned. The show that I planned to go to, I had seen that they were doing a pre-sale and doing it real quick for the David Lee Roth shows for the last 5. Okay, for the first 5 shows. So it was the 31st, the 1st, the 6th, 7th, and 8th of January, and I had booked for the 8th.
Right.
And then everything fell apart. It was just like such a bummer. So I had everything already booked. I booked everything the minute that the pre-sale went out. And by mistaking, by being a chicken, I actually had an opportunity to book the night before, and I didn't pull the trigger. If I had pulled the trigger on it, I would have had floor seats right down in front of Dave, front and center. But but the I waited one day, and I ended up with straightaway center seats on the bottom rail, next level up though, straight away beyond the soundboard. And I'd booked my hotel and my plane and everything, and I was all jacked up, and then boop, all that goes in the dumper. So nothing's been announced, and everything's been refunded. And Dave has already said, if there's a benefit that's going on or a tribute show, call me. Until then, nothing's going to happen, really.
All right, gotcha. Okay. Yeah. Give me 1 second, guys. 1 second.
So Keith, I've got a quick question I want to ask you. So you saw Van Halen in New York 2 consecutive nights, one at Madison Square Gardens and somewhere else at another venue. So what was the set like? Was it the same set? And the reason why I'm asking that question is I think we forget, don't we, the roadies and the riggers and all the work that they have to do in ripping down a major band set and then transporting it and erecting and setting it all up, bro, for showtime the next day. It's that's phenomenal, isn't it, Brad? Isn't it, Keith?
100%. 100%. Big job. I mean, I wouldn't want to be doing it.
I mean, I've done it just for friends, and just for like little coffee shop things, and set up and tear down for that is, bad enough as it is. But to do a production that they have, that's insane. You got to have hundreds of people on the go at it. Just to get it from New York City, central New York City, 30 miles east out to Long Island.
Yeah.
It takes, basically an army to do that kind of scenario. And the stage that they had was also it had a main stage and then 2 levels on either side, just like the 5150, except it was all like black.
So have you ever, in all the concerts you've seen, did you ever arrive early to see them finishing, or did you ever go a day before to see them constructing these stages, or did you hang around and see them pulling them apart?
Well, also you got to realize at this time in the 90s, this is when logistics start to expand a lot more too. Okay, like the '95 tour, and well, I'd say the '88 tour. I wouldn't go do that because that's down in Midtown Manhattan, and then going out to Long Island. But for some of the other shows, for like maybe down at the Jersey Shore at Homedale, New Jersey, which was an amphitheater show. Yeah, I would go out and just go. You wouldn't really have to watch them go set up the rigging because it was a amphitheater. So they would just have to set up the jumbotron and the stage with the drum riser and everything and the lighting. And yeah, we'd go hang out and listen to sound check and everything early in the day. It was so cool.
Wow.
Yeah, it was the best. Just sit there on a beautiful day out on Jones Beach, and you'd be like maybe 100 feet behind the stage, out on the beach, and you could hear them playing and rehearsing with your toes in the sand.
And a drink in your hand.
You wish, but they wouldn't allow it back then. But we would always wait until we got to the vehicle and just do a little tailgating.
Yeah. Awesome.
Yeah, those early shows were so great. And then once things started progressing in the 90s, you got to realize once they got the Jumbotron, they didn't have just one. They had two. Okay.
Right.
Because they were tearing down one while they were transporting, flying out to the next venue the next day. And then it would just leapfrog from venue to venue. Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
Because they'd be tearing down one while they're performing the next day and then transporting that to the next venue ahead of them.
Yep.
And that's how it usually worked logistically with most of these venues and with the Jumbotron setups.
Oh yeah, for
and
sure.
What were you talking? 13 trucks per?
Massive, isn't it?
Yeah. Insane.
When I was in Europe supporting Tina Turner on her last world tour, she had three full stage and lighting rigs, all leapfrogging all at the same time. It was the only way they could do all the dates so close together. So yeah, it's just huge, similar kind of idea,
Exactly. And that's all part of the management company. That's what they are entailed with, like what Noel Monk or, Azoff would deal with today, but that's what they put all the money out for. And that's what they fronted all out for. And that's what they had to pay for back in the day too.
Yeah, well, and I think that's a good point, guys, that you brought up, because some people don't realise that the leapfrogging of the rigs, to make it possible, because there's obviously, logistic problem there to get that done. If you're doing 3 concerts in 3 days or something like that, it's near impossible, isn't it?
Yeah, that's right.
And imagine, somebody who has to do a rigging for a band like Kiss. Imagine that rig job. Whew.
Yeah. It's I think Mikey Mojo was just in the chat there. Hey Mikey, saying that almost as big as the Kiss rig. I don't know how many trucks they had for Kiss. Someone will know in the chat. But I think back in those days, the size of the Van Halen show and things like the Kiss show, they surely were amongst the biggest shows going around, right?
Yeah. The lighting shows, with David Lee Roth, they always made the lighting show huge. It was always going to be a huger lighting rig. And then with Sammy, they now minimalized the lights down a little bit, but the technology was upgrading as well too. So they could do like Verilights instead of having a guy up in the lighting rig there with a spotlight,
Correct. Yeah. So the lighting technology was improving all the time, where they could do more with less as well back then,
right.
Yeah. But I remember David Lee Roth, I saw him on one of his videos. He was promoting the Yankee Rose tour, and he was saying something like 2,000 lights. Is that right? Did I get that number right? It was a lot.
Yeah, that's about right. 2,000 lights.
2,000 lights. And back then, they weren't like Martin lights and Very lights and stuff. They were like park hands, you know?
Yeah, the par heads. They're like this big.
Yeah, those big, hot, old school. I mean, they were basically just huge light bulbs, you know, instead of the LED.
I'll show you what they look like.
Yeah.
Can you imagine how hot that would have been on stage?
2,000. I mean, it's basically like 2,000 heat lamps, isn't it?
Yep. 100%.
Everybody knows this album, right?
Oh, yeah. Thank you, Mikey. Yeah, the Eat 'em and Smile tour. Yeah.
These are the par lights.
Oh, yeah, right.
These are par lights. And each one of these are a foot wide.
Wow.
Yeah. on the fat end. The inside there is where the bulb goes.
Because that's the back of the lights, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
So there you go. 2,000 of those bad boys.
Yeah, and each one, I mean, even if you've played in small clubs, like small rock clubs, you know, and they've got back in the day, and they've got those old park hands above the stage. Even just 20 of those makes the stage hot, you know?
Oh, yeah. It's the second song in, you'd be dripping wet.
That's right. That's exactly right. Yeah. Fantastic. Yeah, that's good. Hey, so Keith, can I ask you? Yeah, you were talking about the first time you met him. Of course, you were it was in the bar after the gig, right? And so they locked out the bar, and you were mentioning about you know, Alex was the wild one with the drinks. Can I ask then about their different personalities? So was Alex always known to be like the biggest, heaviest drinker of the four, or was it just depending on the night?
Oh, I think it was just depending on the night, but also, you know, after 86, he had sobered up.
Okay.
So, you know, drinking for Alex was gone.
Did it stay gone?
I'm sorry?
Sorry, did it stay gone? Was that the last time you drank?
Yeah, he stayed. I believe he stayed sober all the way through. Yeah.
Okay.
From 88 on.
Right.
Actually, 87. Right after his father passed, he got sober.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah, and Eddie tried sobering up. You know, he went into rehab also, and then it all fell apart again. You know, but
he went. Eddie went in and out of rehab a bunch of times. Would that be right?
Oh yeah. I mean, more times than most people know.
Yeah, sure.
You know, more times than I carry. Even no, you know, I know of 3 major times. You know, but he probably went more than that.
Yeah, because there would be a lot of times that, of course, you know, I mean, he's not shouting it to the world, is he? That he's going into rehab. So there's probably a lot of times we don't even know about.
Yeah, I mean, he was never one. Well, neither was Alex. One to talk about personal matters in public.
Yeah, of course. And what about Mikey? What's been your impression of Mikey over the years in terms of like what he's like socially? You know,
Mikey has to get on one of these shows one of these days. Him or Doogie. Swear to God.
I would.
He is one of us. That's the simplest thing I can say. He's just a dude, you know. He's just so hangoutable, you know. And he loves shooting the shit and talking anything, you know. And that's the one thing I notice about them. They're very disarming with you about that. You know, I always wanted to ask them about stuff. They switched it around on me, and they would start asking me questions about me.
Oh, cool. Cool.
Because when I first met him, I was in the Air Force, so my hair was short, high and tight, you know. And then they started asking about what I did in the military and stuff like that, and you know the whole process. You know, and it was it actually did calm me down and make me, you know, realize they're just dudes, they're guys. They want to know and learn, you know, and they want to meet their fans too, and just hang out and just have a couple of beers and chill.
Isn't that nice that they would respect their fans enough to actually ask like what you do for a job, what do you know, who you are, and find out a bit more about you, even if you're just shooting pool or having a beer, you know?
That's right. Yeah. And that's what I loved about it, you know? And even years later, when I met him multiple times, I didn't even mention it to him, but they were still the same way.
Yeah.
You know, it was no different at all. You know, when I would do the meet and greets with them, or, you know, just like, you know, do the signings and stuff. It didn't matter. You know, they were just like that with their fans. They're phenomenal, you know. Nobody has a right to say that they didn't care about their fans, because anytime I saw them, they were always there for them.
Yeah. You know, I tell you a book I would love to read. I hope Mikey writes a book one day, because I would love to read about the whole experience from his point of view. I think that'd be really interesting.
There are probably a few good books I would love to hear. Mikey's.
Yeah.
Don Landy's.
Oh, yeah.
But I don't know if that'll ever happen.
Yeah.
He's not one to share his
that's right.
things like that.
Yeah.
But also Doogie, Kevin Dugan. He would have, and Rudy too, Rudy Liren. Those two technicians, they would have all the stories to tell.
Absolutely.
God, imagine that. Imagine those two teaming up to do a book together.
Well, I mean, look, never say ever. Obviously, everything's different now that Eddie has passed. I mean, there's going to be no more Van Halen ever. So, you know, I mean, maybe once the dust settles in another 5 years or something, then who knows the books that will come out.
And that's what the huge speculation is with everybody right now. You know, why is Alex meeting up with Don Landy at the studio, you know, where they do, you know, digital conversion and everything? Are they going to go through the vaults? All those questions start rising up. And I hope it happens. I pray it happens.
Absolutely, and that's one of the questions that I was going to chuck out there for us to discuss. And you know, we've discussed this a few times, but heck, we can do it many, many times about whether or not we're going to get stuff out of the vault. Keith, what's your opinion of the stuff in the vault? Clearly, we want to get that. I want to get anything. I think it's probably really important for them to go through there and get that stuff out. If you consider Balance, for example, there's a album's worth of material for Balance that they didn't do. There's the Sharon stuff, part 2. There's a lot of good stuff there.
Well, you also have to realize there are also legalities that have to be contended with as well. With all of Sammy's albums.
The money.
Yeah, plus, you know, mending fences has a lot to do with it too. You know, it's all up to Al now if Sammy's stuff gets remastered. You know, because we all want OU 812 remastered, and we want to hear the bass in that place. I'll be the first one to kill for it. But
so when they remaster that, though, that means that Sammy gets a cut. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. And well, when it gets re-released, if there's a re-release done, if his name is on there, he'll get a piece of it. You know, and just like that with any of the albums. Now the deal with Mike, who knows? You know, doubtful, and who knows with Gary either. But from what I hear, the new process that they're doing with the CDs and the LPs, they're just gonna bring up those bottom ends and just make it so much more fuller. So, yay for Diver Down, and if they ever get to the Sammy stuff,
yes,
that would be very cool. That's for sure.
And you know, not to also mention Van Halen too, which I think was a little bit weak on the bottom end as well. You know, it was there, but it just was weak, you know?
Yep. It's interesting, isn't it, that so many fans around the world feel like that either the bottom end generally, or at the very least, the bass guitar was mixed kind of lower than most people would like. You would think that with all the people that the final mixes have got to pass by, that would have got picked up at the time, you know, but I mean, unless the studio that they were mixing had like huge bottom end, because that's possible, you know, they might have been mixing on speakers that had Titanic bottom end, and so to them it was fine, you know.
Yeah, plus the room simulators that they were using in those studios, you know. The technology was completely different, so who knows if there was, you know, something that they had to, you know, I'm not technologically advanced enough to know if there's something that you have to contend with when converting from LP to tape or to CD.
Well, there's that too. I mean, obviously, if we're talking about
CDs later, but yeah,
if we're talking about the very early records, then obviously they could only mix so much low frequencies into vinyl before there would be issues. And you could do it like the disco stuff, but it sacrificed some fidelity with the high frequencies. So that might have been a decision. But I do agree, even OU812 and some of the later records when CDs were around, they still feel a bit bass guitar light to me, mix wise. Yeah.
I know every Van Halen fan out there, they want that fair warning bass. That's the bass sound they want. They want that heavy in your face bass with the drums right there too.
Just on a selfish note, one of the things that was super fun for me is when I was mixing the Melbourne Guitar Show video, I got to mix Jason's bass really nice and loud in it, and not overly loud, but loud in a way that I thought it made sense, and so that was fun for me. That was my own little selfish going down the rabbit hole and remixing it to a way that I thought sounded a little better. But
yeah, that's the way you got to do it. You got to have that balance across, for all the textures of those sounds.
Yeah, John Conklin makes an interesting point in the chat. Yeah, Metallica's and Justice for All is notoriously bass light. Yeah,
precisely.
And that was released the same year as OU812. So who knows? Maybe all the home stereos and car stereos in '88 had subwoofers.
Yeah.
Oh dear, indeed.
And back then also everything was being what was the big thing then though? CDs. So
CDs.
There was a little bit more fidelity in the CDs. So yeah, that's right.
So Keith, one of the questions I asked you was your favorite.
Oh, my favorite Frankie.
Guitar.
Frankie was my favorite, hands down.
And did you make one?
I grew
did
up
you
with
make
it
a
from the
replica?
get-go. So, I like the whole evolution of this baby, this thing, and just like, come on, you have this, and he just decides to start striping it up, and then, okay, who decides to cut this? And then, okay, let's piss off the audience and put some bike reflectors on there and just like, try to reflect it back there. I mean, this guy is truly a mad scientist,
Scientist.
And I'm doing this early and I got to do it now. I got to give my shout out to Holly. Okay. Holly Lewis, because she came up with the name Tinkerman. That's truly what he was.
Yeah.
He was the Tinkerman of all Tinkermans. He's a tone chaser, and he wanted to get the maximum amount of sound out of this thing, Yeah.
It was a good thing they started building them a little bit bigger as well.
Yeah. Well, they all can't be my size. Sorry, I'm just like 5'3", 140. I'm a tiny little dude. So those new guitars on Wolfgang wouldn't fit me at all. The Wolfgang's work.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, and what was the other question that you had, Andrew? The Frankenstein, the tours, and what else?
Did you ever have a go at making a Frankenstein?
Yes, actually, I used to make them for my friends, and I started doing that in the military.
Oh wow!
Yeah, I would just buy, go to the pawn shop and buy a POS guitar and just, break it apart and start building it and put it together and do it like the way Eddie did it,
Yeah.
I mean, the first couple of ones, they weren't exactly perfect, but by the time my last one was built, I could make a pretty damn good replica. I was impressed with my own designs, and I'd start doing a little bit deviations on my own, but always going to be wanting another Frankenstein. So I've got all my parts. I'm just going to start with a build. I just got to get the body and the neck first. Yep. Everything else I have all set, and I'm going to do a build again.
Oh, fantastic.
Awesome.
Fantastic. I remember when I was doing a paper run in the early 1980s, I used to push past this music store shop, and they had a Hondo. You guys might remember the Hondo brand guitars back then. And
my
it was
first
a
guitar.
Hondo.
Really?
And I remember sitting there looking, seemed like hours, but must have been minutes at this Hondo, because it was the first striped guitar I'd seen outside of the guitar magazines and the Cream magazines of, Eddie's EVH Frankie. So never made one, never built one myself, but I always take my hat off, and that's one of the great things about our community, guys. You know, we had Neil Daly on last week, who makes a fantastic guitar. It's just an opportunity for people if they want to get out there and have a crack. Brad's even talking about making one this year.
I'll be right back, guys.
No problem.
Yeah.
Hoss, we should do a quick shout out to all the people that have jumped into the show. I know you're going to do one at the end, but thank you everybody for jumping on. We've got 31 people watching us, Hoss, hanging out with us, sharing the stories with Keith, who's freaking awesome. What an awesome cat, Hoss.
Oh yeah, the stories are wonderful, and for all of us down here in the Southern Hemisphere that weren't lucky enough to get to see Van Halen the way that Keith has. I mean, he's met them, he's seen them 36 times. It's awesome and wonderful. I mean, I really do feel like we get to have a deeper experience of Van Halen, just sort of living through him, But yeah, absolutely. We've had lots of new people join in the chat, so we could do a shout out now. Actually, it's probably good. We got James Stewart, we got Johnny Bean. Hey Johnny, Helen Winter, Kenneth K, Jimmy Ray Hawkins has jumped in. Arvin Gaunt. Hey, Arvin, how you doing? The incomparable John Conklin, Mark Effects, Charlie S, Mark Dillon, Metal Mike 5150, Robot Master Switch, Tim Thomas, Michael Richardson, Hugh Caldwell in Scotland, cracking a beer at 4 a.m. So, hey, congratulations, Hugh. Cheers. It's lunch, as they say over there.
Breakfast.
Breakfast. And, it is the breakfast. Hey, as Dennis Leary used to say in his stand-up comedy, here's hops, here's barley, here's protein, here's a meal.
That crackle and burp. That's what's for breakfast.
Quentin James, the US, who I like to think of as the US rock professor, Charles Green, Mikey Mojo, Robert Ranford, Mike Rogers, Helene O'Hara, Sonia, Gretch Zeppelin, Simon Williams, also at 5 a.m. now in the UK.
Fine.
John ZD351, Ellen Vorishine, Nelson Rodriguez, Sandra, I think, has come and gone. She's had to go. And, of course, the illustrious Fruitcake Tony. Thank you, everybody, for joining us. It's awesome.
Awesome. You can do your special shout-out because she's in the chat now.
Holly, my sweet.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Hey, Ollie.
Hey, guys.
We were just talking about the Tinkerman, and you have the best name right there. 2 names that he was famous for, Tinkerman or being a tone chaser. And I love them both. Thank you for that, Holly. And thank you for that. I read that every day, and I cry.
Brad, you going to say something, bro?
I've got to jump in, guys. I've got to love you and leave you all because I've got a sound check now, and I'm getting people are trying to ring me. That's why I keep getting cut off on this StreamYard. So
do you think,
I'm
brother?
late now. So, but great to join you all and everyone in the chat. Great to touch base with you again, Keith, and everyone stay safe out there. Yeah.
You too, brother. Have a great gig. Thanks for joining us from Tasmania.
See you tomorrow.
Thank you, Brad. Thank you. Be safe.
And rock.
Great talking with you. See you again soon, okay?
Cool. We're doing
Do it again soon, guys. I've got to go. Peace.
See you, fella.
We're going to wrap up shortly. It was really nice to get Holly in the chat because we were doing a shout out, Holly. Thank you, Holly. We were just talking about you also in the green room, what you do with your Facebook group, Tinkerman, and just keeping again another great group of keeping the Van Halen name out there and a community where people can get together and discuss it. Wonderful job.
Yeah.
Holly's one of the best out there, She has a true passion, just like the rest of us here.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Love it.
If Holly ever wants to come on and hang out with us and talk about Van Halen, Holly, we'd love to have you on. So if you want, you know how to get in touch with me or Hoss or Brad, flick us a message. I'd love to get you on. Come and talk Van Halen.
Beautiful.
Bro, I'm just going to say thank you, Keith, for hanging out with us and sharing some of your stories. I do look forward to getting you back when we have some more shows planned in the future. I'd love to do some deep dives with you. I know Hoss would.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, great. That'd be awesome fun.
Yeah.
The fact that you spent a bit of time with us is great. I'm going to pass on to Hoss, and then I'm going to ask you to say the final word, Keith. Hoss.
Well, look, Keith, always thank you so much for being a friend of the channel and always joining us in the chat. But more than that, it's been wonderful over the last 12 months to actually get to know you outside of the chat and actually as a person and make friends across the waves, as they say. I think it would be wonderful. You were mentioning earlier in the show that there's 2 or 3 shows at least that you've been to that could the stories from that show could warrant a whole episode. Man, I think that would be so much fun to do that. So let's have a think maybe about the next show that you'd like to do a crazy deep dive on, and then that we can live that show through you.
Absolutely.
That'd be wonderful, brother. So thank you so much for chatting to us, and of course thank you to everyone in the chat who's joined in and been part of it. It's been super fun. So yeah, awesome, brother. Thanks.
All right, thank you so much. I appreciate this. The one thing I can't explain enough, or I can't even fathom, is how lucky I was to be able to see these guys this much in my life, and to be able to experience what I did, and I just feel it's my responsibility to share that, the experience with everybody, because they're not going to be around anymore. So we have very little to experience anymore, so like it or not, we've got what we've got. We've got all the Sammy albums. We've got all the Dave albums. We've got the Gary album, and we've got all of our concerts and our memorabilia.
Yeah.
And we've got whatever Al and Wolfgang decide they want to do, and we're at that will. So it's time for everybody to stop complaining and moaning about who was better, who was a better performer, who's a better singer. You know what? It ain't about that. It was only about the music, just like Eddie always said. Any album that Eddie was in was my favorite album. And any album that Alex played drums in was my favorite album. That's simple.
Well said, brother. Well said. Couldn't have said it better myself. We've got to embrace all the music of all the eras, because that's the legacy they left us with. And it was obviously the music that Ed and Al wanted to make, no matter who was singing. So, yeah.
And that's one of the things that our channel wants to do here, Keith, is the organic fan aspect of jumping on and sharing these stories. And I always like, when I get an opportunity to mention this, to point this out to people, because we're here doing this show, this video is going to be around forever. And so, when people want to do research, they're going to be talking, okay, on the 26th of the 2nd, 2002, this is what Keith said about his experiences of seeing Van Halen. So, this is what's going to happen. People will be looking at, okay, this is what the organic fans are talking about, as opposed to the official journalists and the scribes. And Hoss, this is one of the reasons why we talk about a lot of the books by Brad and also Steve Rose and these guys that knew Eddie. That's why these books will always be fundamental, because they knew the guy. The books that are going to come by people who don't know or never knew Eddie, well, how valuable can they be?
Yep.
Exactly. Yeah.
And I just sat there and walked through my whole house earlier today. I'm like, I cannot believe the library that I have on this band. I think I have like easily 100 books and magazines. Just on Van Halen alone.
That could be a show. That could be a show.
Oh God, it could be. It could be.
That could be a show.
I mean, and I'm just one of millions. I'm one of millions of fans.
Yeah.
The collection I have ain't squat compared to some of the collections I've seen. And I saw a collection tonight that was out of this world.
Yeah. Awesome. Okay, guys, we're going to go live tomorrow with the Rock Professor and Brad. We're going to be ranking Deep Purple's In Rock. If you guys are watching the replay of this show and you haven't subscribed to our channel, we really would love your subscription. We're about 860. We really want to reach 1,000 subscriptions as soon as possible. Go and check our community page and go and subscribe to everybody's YouTube page on there. Support everybody, and let's just make sure this community ticks along, Hoss.
Absolutely, yeah. It's been wonderful. Thank you again, Keith. Such a pleasure. So glad to met a new friend, and we look forward to doing it again and deep diving on something.
Absolutely, I can't wait for that either. And I apologize for not responding to any questions or anything. I didn't have the chat in front of me. And I also want to apologize to Ellen and to Halen because they wanted to hear the story about how Linda and I met at a Tom Petty concert 5 years before we actually met.
No, we want to hear that. Yes,
really?
You're right.
Really? You want to hear it?
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah, because you've, I remember now.
Okay.
Because you've mentioned that in other shows. Shit, this is what happens when you do a show. You forget all the... Yeah. Tell us, bro.
Okay.
I ain't going in. Yeah.
All right. I'm down at the Jersey Shore, living in Belmar, which is, right in the middle of New Jersey. And like maybe 15 miles north is the Garden State Art Center, where, I'd seen Van Halen and a whole bunch of bands perform, the amphitheater. And a couple of my friends and I, we got tickets for Tom Petty concert. So we decided we're going to go. It was, what year was that? That was 98. So it was the Echo Tour.
Yeah.
And the big single that he had on that one was The Last DJ. So he decided he's going to do the tour. And my friends and I are getting the tickets. And I didn't even think about it, but I asked them, who are the openers? And they said, don't know. And look at the tickets. I look at the tickets. Chuck Berry, Little Richard, and Jerry Lee Lewis are the openers.
Wow.
So we have 10th row seats, and we're down there, just jamming. And my friends are on the aisle across from me in 2 seats, and I'm on the first seat on the aisle opposing. And I've got a nice couple sitting next to me, and we're watching the show. And Chuck Berry gets up there and he does his thing, and then Jerry Lee Lewis, he gets up there and does his thing, and Little Richard was the last opener.
Oh,
and everybody's having a blast, and we're all dancing and stuff. And Little Richard goes, "Okay, this is going to be my last song. So after I wave you all up, I want the first 10 rows of everybody to come up here and dance with me because I just had hip replacement surgery and can't do my whole lot of dancing shake anymore." He invites 100, 200 of us up there on stage with him.
Right.
To go dance with him. So I'm like, wow, come on, guys, let's go. And I go to grab the hand of the woman next to me, and I get the stink eye from the husband. I'm like, I'm sorry. This girl about my height, long, curly, brown hair, big glasses, and her husband, Irish, fine-looking gentleman. And, didn't think anything much of it. I was like, okay, fine. I went up there onto the stage. And everybody's just running around dancing. I'm like, sneaking. I'm like, screw it. I'm going up to Little Richard. I went up there and started playing with him on the piano. I couldn't believe it. He's like, yeah, go out. I'm like, yeah, hold on. She can go out. Just hitting the high keys, just going at it. Yeah. And he gave me a high five and we went back down. And everybody was so much happier after that. It was just like such a great time. And then I looked over. I'm like, you guys should have come up. He just like, no, that's the wrong thing to do. It's not proper. That's the way her husband, Kevin, was. He's a great man. So we watched the concert. Tom Petty comes on, fantastic show. Years go by, and I end up moving out here to San Diego in 2005. And 2006, '06, she moves out here. And her husband had passed away from a heart attack. And her daughter was going to college out here for law school, her and her fiance. So they'd moved out here to San Diego, and she decided to come out and move out and stay out here for a little while and see what it's like. She gets her car off the trailer. She stops in a bar, not even 5 minutes, and she walks in and meets me.
Wow.
So she walks in and she's like, on her phone. You remember the old clamshell phones?
Yeah.
She's on her phone talking to her daughter, Christina. I don't know where I am. I just got the car off the trailer and I found a bar. I need a beer, a shot, and a game of pool, okay? I love you. Bye. Click. I need a beer, a shot, and a game of pool. Anybody? 3 people in the bar. Me, the bartender, and one other customer. I was working the kitchen. And they all look at me. I'm like, okay, I'm your Huckleberry. So we start talking. She's like, hi, I'm Linda. I'm like, you're from New Jersey or New York, aren't you? She's like, how do you know? I said, I'm from New York. So we started talking, where she's from, where I am from, and where we grew up. And, because she grew up in the Jersey Shore. I grew up in Rockland County in the New York area and also lived down in the Jersey Shore for a while, too. And then we got to talking, because she lived 2 towns away from me where she lived with her husband. And then next thing you know, we were starting talking. Wait a second, do you know this bartender? Yeah, I know that. Yeah, that bartender's my neighbor. Really? Wow. Did you go to this concert? Wait, you went to the Tom Petty? That was you? Oh my God. And our heads just exploded when we realized that was each other,
Wow.
5 years ago. And then, we started talking and more, like, what have you been going on here? What's been going on with you? What's been going on with our lives? By the end of the night, she looks at me and says, I'm going to marry you someday. This is the first night she met me. And, there we were, 15 years together, love of my life.
That is amazing.
Yeah. Those kismet moments. It's just like, just tug at you. And like, how is this even possible? But
it's beautiful. Yeah, it's beautiful.
It's the strange, beautiful life that I live.
Yeah, it's awesome. So. That's so cool. Just goes to show you that as random as everything feels when you go through this life, maybe some things aren't that random,
Right. I mean, it's just strange how everything cycles around and weaves together. Strange life that we all live. And I'm proud to have you all part of it. Thank you. I appreciate you all.
So are we.
You guys have been such a savior for me every night, for all these past 6 months. Trust me. Thank you all. I really appreciate you.
Thank you, Keith. No, the feeling is completely mutual, brother. I promise.
John Conklin's got a comment in here. Crazy that Keith and I lived almost 25 minutes away from each other for years and never knew each other until now. Yeah.
Right? I mean, I know where John lives. I used to do a cable route right where he lives and grew up. That entire county area where he lives.
Yeah.
I mean, it's such a strange, small world.
Amazing.
Yeah, Thank you for that story, bro. Obviously, we know your story, and you've always been in our thoughts since we heard your story. So, look, if hanging out with a couple of rat bags and some people in the chat is helping anybody, well, great. That's what people are. Hanging out with each other. That's fantastic. I love it.
My kind of rat bags.
Yeah. Beautiful.
God bless, brother. We're gonna cruise. We're gonna split. Hoss has got a couple of things to do. We're gonna see you guys tomorrow, and we'll get Keith back for a couple more shows. We look forward. We haven't even scratched the top of Keith.
No. I mean, I've just talked about some Van Halen shows. I mean. And those are only 36. I think I've been to about 200 to 300 shows in my life. So,
all right.
I mean, I could go across the gamut on all the shows I've been to. It's insane. But yeah, that's another time. Absolutely.
All right.
And have fun at Mammoth, brother. We will look
Thank
forward
you.
to hearing
I will. I'll
Great,
take pictures and post videos too. And tomorrow at 11 p.m. or 11 a.m. Pacific time, I'm finally at a Facebook jail. Yay!
Yay!
Awesome.
Nice.
Awesome.
30 days
Awesome,
out
brother.
of the hole.
30 days in the hole.
Yep. This is going to be my song to play. 30 days in the hole.
What version do you like?
Beautiful.
Oh my gosh. There's a couple
Thank
of
you
good
everyone
versions.
for joining us in the chat. Big shout outs to Warren, of course, and Linny Lou and Bent Tom. Our thoughts are with you guys.
Yeah.
Prayers to all
Get
of
well.
you. Please get well.
Yeah. See you, everyone.
All right.